Hey guys, I'm never going to financially recover from this. I'm stocking up on all of my consumables to hedge the cost of the tariffs increases. And I've just spent $400 on coconut, just spent about $400 on feeders. I spent about like $300 or $400 on paper recently. And so just like to tell you guys that it is a concern, and consumables are the biggest part of my cost and upkeep other than electricity. And so I'm trying to manage and hedge my liabilities there, because it's important to make sure that I have what I need to keep them. But the thing I'll tell you other than that, first of all, guys, is when I went and picked these up, I get my coconut from a horticultural supply store. So it's people that are like professional growers and farmers. And also the guy there, he's just, he's a businessman. And we were just talking about how every industry, every sector of the economy is facing price increases, and everyone's struggling, and it's outstripping their income. And so I'll just tell you that if you're worried or scared about prices and money, if you're worried and scared about what the tariffs might do to you, if you have an opinion about the tariffs and you're happy about them or you're mad about them, that's all fine. And I just tell you guys that it's kind of a struggle right now, and it's been a struggle for a while with money for people. And just be kind to each other, and just remember that everyone's feeling the squeeze no matter what. And then the other thing I'll tell you guys is I have to do a shameless plug. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this. I'm just going to tell you, this weekend I have all of my last year's true red-tailed boas sexed out and photographed out, and I'm going to go through and carefully put them up onto my Flickr account, and you'll see an announcement on this YouTube channel when they're out and available. That's going to be happening very, very, very soon. So please like, comment, and subscribe to learn about all of that. I loaded up some animals last week onto the web page, and I sold a couple, and that's one of the things that helped me purchase and pre-buy all these consumables. So thank you if you were one of those people that purchased. Other than that, how do you find out information about my animals, how to contact me, etc.? If you go to my channel description page that's on the part of this YouTube, just click on the picture of me. It'll take you right to the channel description. I've got my email, I've got my Facebook, I got my Flickr account up there. And so basically, if you want to contact me about an inquiry about an animal, email me. If you just want to chit chat, Facebook friend me, and then once you're friended with me, that you'll also see announcements about availability and stuff. And then other than that, if you want to see animals that I have available, click that Flickr link, and it'll take you right to them. And there's information in the comments and all that stuff jazz. So just to let you guys know that, I wanted to put that out for you. But consumables are my biggest concern with money in my reptiles, because the truth of the matter is, if you're like me, you do not have a large hourly pay rate, and that you do have a medium to large reptile collection, and it costs a lot of money. And the consumables, feeding my collection, if I'm doing a full feeding when I have when all of my babies, which I'm starting to get here, and I have all my adults, and it's in the middle of summer, I'm trying to get them up all cycled up, it can cost me $100 a week to feed my animals. I will tell you that I'm using a few $100s worth of coconut substrate a year, and probably similar to that in paper. And so all of these things are things that I need to have to take care of my animals properly. They're all things that are very likely to go up because of the tariffs, because most of this stuff comes from abroad. Coconuts from Indonesia, usually I think that's where it's coming from, or Sri Lanka or somewhere like that. And then my paper, that's usually coming, I think it's coming from Canada. And then my feeders, I buy them domestically. And I'll just tell you, I know that there are Asian feeders coming in, and I buy from companies both that produce domestically, and I do think that I am getting some Asian feeders in as well. So I think that both for the reason that those Asian feeders will have a tariff on them, I think that I might be paying more soon, and I might be paying more in general for my American produced rodents as well, just because the Chinese feeders are meeting some of the demand, and once that supply goes away, the supply versus demand will change, and that will lead to price increases. So that's what I'll tell you. And so I think I've told you this before. I don't make money with my reptiles, but it is important that I have cash flow with my reptiles, meaning that when I sell animals, I need to sell animals to sustain the collection I have. Otherwise, I just couldn't do it out of my own paycheck. And so to that end, I'll tell you my goal financially and how I set my collection up is that all my consumables are paid for at least through production. And that way, no matter what, I might not be buying new animals. I might be buying a new cage out of my pocket if an animal needs to be upgraded, but I'm not having to eat that just grinding week in and week out of putting $100 worth of dead rats into your snakes and dumping a $20 or $30 block of coconut into your snakes. And I'll tell you, just like, every week I feed my animals, which is at least $50, and every week I go out and I buy something from animals. 20, 30, 40, $50 is not a big week. That's an average week. I'm buying something for my animal, even just some Tupperware totes or whatever. And then I also have, like, every couple months I'm dropping a few $100s on feed or substrates like that. So I'll just tell you that if you get to this point and you're not somebody that can fund it with your paycheck, you need to be thinking about cash flow, and you also need to be thinking about hedging your bets. So against these tariffs. And so I'm stocking up. I have about a 2-year, this is about not a 2-year supply, but this is going to be quite a pretty decent supply for me of coconut, over a year's worth. I bought out a shipping center for a closed down local business that had a pallet of craft paper about a year ago, and that was like 24 rolls, and I still have like 16 left. So I have a year or two's worth of paper. I'll tell you, I've just been doing some other things to control cost, and also I think it actually works better for my animals. Like, I'm using homemade organic garden compost, but you could also use organic compost from the store. I'm using leaf litter, things like that. Not only does it save me money, but I actually think it's better for the animals as well. So those are just the things I tell you to think about. And I'm worried about the tariffs, and I'm worried about the money. And if you are too, that's okay, because it's hard out there for everybody. So just keep that in mind. And I guess the last thing I'll show you is I'll just show you the substrates I use. This is a little different than I usually use, but I could not actually find the brand I usually use. This is a very similar brand. It's a similar product, but it's packaged differently. And so what these are 3-gallon growing pots for hydroponics, and they come with a compressed brick of coconut in it. So this is the same as, this is all organic, pure organic, Omri, 100% coco coir, and it is a dehydrated compressed brick. It's meant to be, you put it in here, it fills up, you put your plant in there. That's how it's supposed to work. But I'm just gonna take them out and put pucks into the bin, and it's not quite as convenient as those bigger blocks. But what I found, I bought a box of this last week to make sure that it would work, because I didn't want to invest in it and not be very good. But what you can do with these, instead of just the way I'll show you guys at some point how to inflate one of those big blocks, but basically cut the top off the plastic and fill it with a hose and let it absorb water once, and it just falls apart. These aren't quite the same because they have drain holes, but you can do one of two things with these. I figured out you can set them in a pan and let them absorb from the bottom, or the other thing I've been just doing is when you have wet coconut in your tote, you just take 1 or 2 of these at the end of the day and you throw it in the bin, and you cover it with the lid with about a quart of water, and by the time you come back later, it's softened up to break apart, but it's not oversaturated, because that's a challenge with rehydrating compressed coconut, is getting it to break apart without getting it so wet that you then have to dry it out for days. So that's just that. Other than that, this is kind of interesting. I realized that these products have different moisture holding capacity. So this is 45% water holding capacity. I think that's by weight. So this I don't know how much it weighs, but it could hold 45% of its weight in water. And what I realized about this is it's a little bit of a more varied mix than like the standard chunks that you get. There's a little bit more fine coir in it. There's a little bit of different size chunks, usually overall smaller chunks and a little more fiber, which is fine. I will actually tell you that will allow it to hold more water than chunks coconut, which is one of the shortcomings of chunk coconut. It's why I've been modifying it with compost and leaf litter and things, but that's just what I tell you. I thought it was interesting. They also come in a 60% Floraflex. The other brand that I get is Hydrofarm planting chips, and those are a very traditional reptile substrate. So that's the point I'd make to you about coconut, is you can go ahead and buy it from a reptile specific spot and pay more money for it, and if you got it at a store or at an expo, you risk the chance of getting mites. Or you can go to one of these specialty hydroponic stores that supplies professional growers and get it set up for you like that. So that's just what I tell you, and that's how I'm hedging my liabilities with the impending tariffs. So yeah, that's it. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.